Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another sunny day in the Rhondda. I want to start this week's thought by looking at the book of Lamentations. It's written by Jeremiah. Sometimes people don't read this book very often. In fact, they don't even know where it is. It's a lament. A lament is a funeral dirge, a sad song. And much of this book is sad because Jeremiah is struggling. In chapter 3, for the first 20 verses, he's remembering all the sad things in his life. He's remembering the darkness and the disease and the disappointment he's having. Jeremiah has been the laughing stock of the people as he's been travelling around the city of Jerusalem, telling them that they're not going to win the battle against the Babylonians. So he's seen as a man who is inciting treason. And so he's been shut up in the court of the guard. Sometimes he's been thrown down a pit. It's been tough for Jeremiah. And in chapter 3, he remembers it. Now, I don't know what your memory is like. Now, I know as we get older, we can't remember some things. But, we do rehearse the past a lot. We do look back over our lives. And they say the older we get, the more we remember our childhood and all those earlier things. And we can't even remember what happened yesterday. I don't know if you're there, but Jeremiah is rehearsing the past. And I read recently that memory is frequently the slave to despondency. That despairing minds call to remembrance every dark foreboding in the past. And sometimes we talk about the good old days, don't we? But actually, we often remember the bad old times. And the memory is sometimes clothed in sackcloth. It reminds us of the bitterness of the past, and that's what's happening to Jeremiah. He says that he's filled with bitterness and wormwood, another word for bitterness. He feels as if God is giving him a hard time, like a bear lying in wait for him or a lion to tear him apart. So he's really down in the depths of despair here, and he doesn't seem to be able to get out of it. And then suddenly we find in verse 21 of this chapter, he says, it's like a light comes on in his brain. He says, but this I call to mind. Instead of remembering all the bad things that are affecting him, he says, this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. And what does he call to mind? This is what he says. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. And here we are. It's a new morning. And astonishingly, today is a new day. Because in Wales, they've said that old folks like me and Susan can actually go out. We actually can go out for a walk today. We can sort of break through the little bit of lockdown. And I discovered, if you rake the ashes of the past, you will find light for the present. If you remember the loving kindness of the Lord and rehearse his grace and love towards us, we should soon be hopeful and happy. And it changed Jeremiah. It changed his whole demeanour. It changed his mindset. Instead of thinking of the dark, he thought of the light. Instead of thinking of the bad, he thought of the good. Can I say this to you? It's time you gave up hope for a better yesterday. Does that make sense? See, what past is past. And the only place you can live in is your memory. We've got to get on with our life. We've got to get out of the situation of feeling worthless and rejected and bitter and disappointed. We've got to get out of that mindset. The Bible is a book of forgiveness and restoration. It's filled with the stories of men and women who overcame their past and went on to become winners through the power of the Holy Spirit. And we can too. But it all begins when God starts encouraging us and reminding us that he is faithful every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, we sing. There is no shadow of turning with you. Jeremiah says, I remember the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. The poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge said this. He says, the memory is the bosom spring of joy. Isn't that powerful? What's your memory like? Have you been rehearsing the past recently? Remember what I said a moment ago? You can't have a better yesterday because it's all gone. You can have a better tomorrow. The choice is yours. We have to call to mind the goodness of God this morning. So I want to encourage you to start the week by reminding you of how wonderful God is. He's steadfast, faithful, reliable. Remember all those good things He's done for you, and remember He will do them tomorrow. Amen. Lord, I just pray for everyone listening to this podcast, whatever the bitterness and the disappointment and all those demons, if you like, in the past, may they leave them at your feet and go on to a better life in you today, Lord. Amen.